Bingo.
Hey, we're back
Hi guys, we are at Cup of Joe.
in Twin Lakes, Wisconsin.
Yes, without our cups.
I'm having coffee here though. My mug's in the car. I'm too lazy to go get it.
Alkaline Costco water.
Oh, there you go. Especially when you work out.
Yes, there you go.
Do they have that for marathon napping?
Yes.
Should I rehydrate after
Yes,
my
you
marathon
should,
napping?
you should
Okay.
always rehydrate
All right,
after
here's my
that
confession.
marathon
Here, I'm going to
nap.
come really close. See my shiner?
Okay.
Yeah, you should have seen it. I killed the other
Nancy
guy.
was playing. She's Paul Bunyanette.
Hey man,
Paul.
I'm taking care of my land.
Bunyan.
And I got clapped back from a branch. And as soon as it clunked me, literally right here, like enough to ring my bell, I put my
Ding,
hands
ding.
over my face and I said, thank you, Jesus.
Ding, ding.
That was not my eye. Because we could have had a very different or not conversation ever. So yeah. And why I don't, it looks like I have makeup on one eye but not the other because I don't care.
There you go.
So this is the real raw me, having had a major clapback tree incident. But I'm quite sure that if Diane had been wearing safety goggles, this would not have happened to
I
my
would
own
have been
eye.
wearing them.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
would have been wearing my safety goggles, Nancy.
Anyway,
So,
it's been a minute since we were here.
yes, it
That's
has.
what all the kids say. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute.
We're going to do a review over the things that we've talked about so far in our videos. And then Diane's going to talk about what's coming up. So
Yes.
just to refresh all your memories, because I know, well, some of you probably have this memorized because you're super fans and I love you. We talked about what are you afraid of? Distraction, loss, judgment, ego and outcome, surviving the place of suck, and what's in your wake. And I think I need to clarify too that loss, ... grief fucking sucks.
Yes, amen.
So yes,
Amen.
we're going to cover that again and kind of just go over it because I think all of those things are unbelievably applicable always.
Right. And we want to do this, Nancy, right? We want to do this at this point in time because we want to tie it in before we venture off into our new journey of where we're going to go with this educational format. We want to pull it in together so that it all makes sense why we've done these shows and also make it applicable to this day and age, what's going on right in front of us in this country right now and throughout the world, because we want you thinking. We want you empowered. We want you to take your power back.
We want you to be as fucking awesome as we are. That's quite frankly what it is.
I'm more humble. But
Well,
no, you're right.
I'm just going to say it then.
Go ahead, say it.
So
Somebody
that's what I
else say
mean.
it.
We just,
Yes.
And the thing is, the things we've talked about so far are universally applicable. Whether
Yes.
it's this year, next year, 15 years ago, 15 years into the future, because wherever you go, there you are.
Right.
And that's regardless of what's going on around you. And I think the more you can start to really become aware and take your power back, the less you'll feel like you're tossed by whatever is going on anywhere else. You'll have a sense of solid, foundational contentment wherever
Right.
you go.
Right.
And you'll be as fucking awesome as we are.
So, with that in mind, so what have we been afraid of, Nancy?
Well, again, I went back and looked at our first video, which I was a complete spaz, and I apologize for that. I think all of us, all the time, will be afraid of something,
Right.
right? That's part of being human. It's part
Right.
of our condition. The interesting part is when you can spend less time in that state. I don't know about you. I'm really tired of being afraid all the time, of waking up afraid, of turning on the TV and being afraid, of opening up the paper and being afraid, of opening up. It's all just fear.
It's all fear.
You know?
Right now. It's
And-
all fear.
And
Everything.
it's all over social media.
Everywhere.
And all that
It's
stuff.
subliminal. It's in your face.
Yeah, you know,
And-
and it's like, really, we're stronger, bigger people than that. And I mean, there are some things that are legitimate. If I'm out in the woods and I see a bear and he looks
Charging
hungry
you.
and he wants me to lay down on a big paper plate, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to be afraid for my life, and I'm going to, well, I'll probably end up being dead. But whatever.
That's appropriate fear.
A lot of people are really afraid of that, you know.
Yeah, that's
And I've got a
appropriate fear.
newsflash, you know.
That's appropriate fear.
None of us get out alive.
Amen. And I think a lot of
R.I.P.
people.
Norm Macdonald.
We're not getting out of this. We're not getting out of this life alive. So why would we spend, Nancy, are waking 24 hours a day, and every waking moment we have, which isn't 24 hours, why would we spend that and waste it focused on nothing but fear? I don't know about you, girl, but I have never in my life seen such a focus on fear as we have seen in this country for the last year and a half. It's beyond comprehension to me. What happened to people talking about hope? What happened to people
talking about anything else
other than our current
my
political
God.
pandemic? And that's going to piss off quite a few people. But guess what, Nancy? You know what? We've done our best in all our shows to try and show you ways to empower yourself, ways to feel good about who you are, ways to genuinely give to another person, not out of force and intimidation, but because when you give to someone with no expectation of receiving in return, that is the truest form of being unselfish.
Well, and that's part of the humanity we all have.
Mm-hmm.
You know? I don't know why anybody would spend a second of their time. One of the things that we need to do, and this is an assignment that I'm handing out there.
This is a good assignment. Pay attention.
Write down or think about 5 things you know. I mean, you know them.
And you do not have to, you write this down. This is your homework for you. So you don't have to share this with anybody.
Right.
You don't have to acknowledge this.
And that's a big part of this, okay? You don't have to share every thought you have every question you have in your head with all of social media. Really,
That's
you
right.
don't. You'll be happier if you don't.
Absolutely.
You'll
This
be
is
more
for
mature
you.
if you don't.
Yes.
You'll be more powerful if you don't. But at any rate, 5 things that you know to be true. And then write down how you know that.
What's your source on
What's
your
your
knowledge?
source? Where'd you hear it? How do you know that? And just think about, where do we put our attention and
Right.
power to?
Right.
And what happened to having our own power and our own intuition and our own common sense and critical thinking of like, well, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Or if I see this and then I see this, that doesn't equate to me. I don't know if anybody else saw the Met Gala with AOC there wearing her Tax the Rich gown, and the fact that in the pictures from the Met Gala, the people that were the attendees at $30,000 a pop didn't have any masks on. But all of the service and wait staff and security did have masks on in the same space.
Right. Did you question that when
I don't
did
understand. It doesn't make sense.
Did you question that when you saw that? Did you find that actually seems to be odd?
Well, did anybody even see it? Did
There
anybody
you go.
even see it?
There
I mean,
you go. Open your eyes.
And
Open
that's,
your eyes.
And that's the thing too of like, if somebody tells me to do something, 9 times out of 10, I'll do it based on what I know about their expertise. If somebody says to me, "Oh my God, that restaurant, I went there and it was horrible," firsthand knowledge, man. I ordered the blah 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 and it came out like this and whatever. Most likely, I'm not going to go there because somebody that I know in my circle that I trust said it really wasn't that good.
Right.
If it was a stranger saying to me, "Oh yeah, don't go there," whatever, I might kind of look at them and say, "Yeah, I'm going to try it anyway, though. Maybe you just were on an off night or you picked a dish that didn't go well or whatever." But if it's someone that I really trust in my circle, I would most likely follow their lead on things. And I think, sadly, many of us are following the lead of people that aren't necessarily in our direct circle or qualified.
Right.
And if you investigate backgrounds of where some of these sources are coming from, it's really interesting. There's a lot to think about and ponder, and it just may be something as simple as like, that doesn't make a lot of sense. I want to find out more about that instead of just sitting back and blindly accepting whatever you're told. You're too good for that. You're too smart for that. You have too amazing a brain given to you for that. To sit back and take the lazy way out, I guess. And that doesn't mean that you have to, cut a sweat while you're Googling something online or whatever, but, to take the time to actually think about things.
Right, because in the end, what you're taking in sometimes keeps you in a perpetual state of fear. And I can use this analogy. I believe for the last year and a half, most people, probably way too many, have been at a level of fear that would equal standing on a railroad track, finding yourself stuck because your boot or shoe got stuck in the rail and you can't get loose, and there's a train.
And you hear the train
You
whistle.
hear the train and
Holy
you see
shit.
the train coming at you. This is the level of fear that people have been living in since March 17th of last year. Yes, I'm saying this directly, and I'm going to tick off a lot of people. Right, Nancy?
But
2
that was
weeks
what
to
the
flatten the
plan
curve.
was.
That was the plan.
That was
Bottom
the plan.
line is, I'm talking about fear. Fear is not a healthy place to live. And by the way, the only people that can get themselves out of fear is the individual themselves. Nothing anyone does around you will get rid of your fear. You are responsible for getting rid of your fear.
No, Diane, if you would have had safety goggles on, this would not have happened to my eye. Don't
bingo.
forget that.
Yeah, I'm so
Is
sorry.
that logical?
Right.
Is what I just said to her logical?
It's a little
Diane
laughable.
is in Wisconsin wearing safety goggles, and I'm
So that Nancy doesn't get hit by
in
a
Barrington,
branch.
and I'm like cutting branches. What?
So,
What?
and
Come on, you're better than that.
Yes, we are.
Good Lord,
Yes,
I
you
give
are.
people a lot of credit, and sometimes I really wonder if I should anymore.
Right, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
So
it's absolutely crazy.
It ties back into what are you afraid of and why are you allowing it? The only way to overcome fear is to face it. If any of you out there have ever gone and sought therapy, okay? Any form of therapy. By the way, have you noticed that mental health is gone? Okay, we know the cold is gone, we know the flu is gone over this political pandemic, but if you notice, discussions of mental health are gone. And one way I know they're gone is the professional site LinkedIn. We used to have topics on mental health all the time. I haven't seen any since March of 2020. What happened to mental health? What happened to caring about the mental health of every age group out there? No discussion whatsoever. Question that.
In a time when it's exacerbated.
Exactly. At a time when, in the past, you would see people bring to the attention that children are suffering because of this. The disabled are suffering because of this. We're seeing nothing. Absolutely nothing. No one is talking about the absolute severe psychological damage, and I'm going to call this one out right now too, being done to children. Children being forced to wear masks under the age of 12. Abstract thought doesn't come till around the age of 12. And do fact check me in an adolescent psychology book. Do get one and double check me. So we have children that are being forced to wear a mask more hours in the day.
It's going to go on for
Yeah.
decades, people.
It's going on for a long time.
We're better than that.
And you can bury your head in the sand all you want. You can believe this is protecting your children. But the bottom line is,
Masks don't work.
and I'm not going to debate that.
I'm not
Jesus. And I'm not going to even debate that, Nancy. For the people out there right now that are screaming back at us, I'm going to say this.
Oh, they're not even there anymore.
They've left.
Hi,
Stay on.
Hi.
I'm going to stay on. I'm going to stay on point. That was really good, though. I'm going to stay on point.
We're probably preaching to the choir, which is,
that's true. We probably are, but that's okay.
Practice.
We need to do that, and we need to do that because we have to live with ourselves. Nancy has to live with herself, and I do.
I live with myself awesome too.
Yes, you do,
Don't
and
I?
I
With
think
my
I
eye.
do
Yeah.
just as well.
I love it, man.
But I want
Should've
to
seen
make
the
this
other guy.
point. We are not addressing things other than the immediate fear mongering, okay? Fear of death. We are not looking at what's happening to our children. We are not looking at what's going to happen to these babies who are under 1 year old, who are developing psychologically, and they are looking at people wearing masks. And check
They're
me
not
out.
looking at me wearing a mask because I don't.
And again, I ask you of this. You might argue with me right now, but I tell you, at least pick up something noteworthy and check into it. Check into developmental delay
Ask
of
some questions.
infants. Ask some questions. Don't turn around and go, I don't want to look at this because this is too
I have
painful.
all my talking points memorized off of that one website, Diane. Don't just
That's right, because obviously you only
We're
take
better
in one
than
source.
that.
We are better than that.
Oh my God.
You
we're
are
so
better,
much
than, that. And we want you to be
The sad part,
better
though,
than that.
well, the sad part is we know that. We know that we're all better than that, but do
Yes.
you know that you're better than that?
Do you know that?
And that's where that goes back to the asking yourself those questions. How many things in your life have you not done because somebody somewhere said, oh, you can't do that? You know, oh, well, you're not smart enough to go to that college. Don't even apply there. Or you're not good at that one thing. You can't. That's not what your career can be. Oh, yeah, you know, you can't. You're not cute enough to blah, 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 blah. Like, right? How many times have we given our power over to somebody that stopped us from doing something we really wanted to because we somehow believed that they were right?
They were they were smarter.
Or we were afraid
smarter
of
than we are.
failing. Right.
They were smarter
When
than we
you're
are.
convinced that you're a dum-dum, then you have to listen to other people because you don't feel that you are smart enough to figure out stuff on your own. You got to move forward to distraction, which this all just ties in.
And it does. And let me ask you a question. Do you enjoy living every day in fear?
Some people get off on
Do
it.
you enjoy this? Is this, and perhaps, no, I better come back to this. There's a lot of people not living in fear because they've convinced themselves that all the things they're hearing that are contrary to their beliefs are not real and not happening and are extreme. Now, if you're going to bury your head in the sand, then no, you're not living every day in fear. Correct? If you're going to bury your head in the sand, you're not living every day in fear because you've turned it off. But I'm talking to the people that are living every day in fear. I'm talking to the people that can't find their way out the door, and every time they look at someone who passes them on the street that's not wearing a mask, they're upset, waiting for something to happen so bad that they believe they can't handle it. Again, over 98% survival rate, folks.
Oh, I know.
Look at, fact check me. Everything I say today, fact check me. And if I'm wrong, I will stand corrected. I will publicly tell you I'm wrong. But my point,
I'll punch her
and she'll
in
punch
the face.
me.
Make
No
her look like
violence.
that.
We have no violence.
Well,
we have no
saying.
violence. No. But that's my point. I'm not afraid to be wrong. What I'm trying to do is get people to think. Start thinking. Do you like this life right now? I don't. I know what life was like. I remember what life was like when we were free to come and go. We were free to trust
I
each
still
other.
am though. See, that's a choice.
We were free to do this, Nancy. What is wrong with this?
I'm going to lick her now.
Okay, now, just because I do this, that's being judged as harmful to my health, but doing this isn't. Think about this.
My mom's doctor couldn't shake her hand, but then he could touch all over her neck and listen to
Right, thank you.
Well, again,
Thank you.
does that make sense?
Does any
I'm
of that
just
make
asking.
sense?
I'm just asking.
No,
Like, in
you
your
are-
brain, do you look at that and go, one of these things is not like the other? Now, I will say, though, here's my cockeyed optimist, as I always am.
Go for a little bit of it. There
I
you go.
am very hopeful at a lot of the things that I've witnessed. As much as it may sound like I'm not, I'm in a really, I'm good. I'm good. Because of the stuff that I've figured out and discovered and the things that I thought about and the things that I've admitted I don't know, so I've found out where, or I've, taken everything with a grain of salt and said, interesting. Okay, not going to impact the way I live my life today. But I will tell you, when you are afraid, you have a substance in your body called cortisol and it gets released.
Yes.
Right? It's that
That's-
fight or flight thing.
That's very accurate. Yes.
What
it
happens
is.
though after a prolonged period of time of living in that space when you're not actually being chased by a brontosaurus in the
Right.
outback somewhere is it impacts your immune system and your ability to fight off infections,
And your
bacteria,
adrenals.
and it exhausts your
Yes,
adrenals, and
your
it just is a
adrenals are
shitty way to
exhausted.
live. However, I do know that when you're in a situation, for instance, you're in a situation where you've been battered, and no, this is not from that. This was a tree, I swear to God. But if you're in a situation where you've been battered and you've been told something long enough, you begin to believe it.
Right.
And even though it's
Right.
not where you want to be, and you know it's not a good place for you, it's familiar,
Right.
and it's easy to fall back on that.
It's comfortable.
Yeah, it's just
It's comfortable,
because
even though
it takes work
Yes.
to progress and to move and to
Right.
think and to change. All of these things, it takes energy to do that. right? The harder. There's Annis Nin had a comment, and I lived by this as I went through my life, and it was, sounds like I'm dead. While I'm living my life, I'm not dead yet.
I didn't want to say
when the fear of the unknown
yes.
becomes less than the pain of staying stuck, that's when growth happens.
Exactly
right?
correct.
That's when growth
exactly.
happens.
Exactly
and I think
correct.
we're at that tipping point right now.
Yes, we are.
And the thing is, we're better than that. We're better than just sitting and blindly going, okay, I don't want to make any waves. I'm getting a shirt that says, I will not comply.
I'm getting the second shirt that says that.
Because
and here's the other thing though.
Talk about distraction.
Okay, yes, it's not because she says I will not comply, she has committed no crime. I don't think people are actually thinking. She's committed no crime. She has a right to think and speak as she wishes. And she has a right to say, if I find fault with what somebody is forcing me to comply with, I have a right to say no. Just like I have a right to say no to drugs.
Well, and fascinatingly enough, you can't mandate a medical procedure.
There you
against
go.
The law.
Because then you're mandating everything else,
right.
aren't you?
Hey, well, everybody ought to take some chemo preemptively in case you get cancer, and then take some
antidepressants. Right. Antidepressants.
We don't need any depression going on here, so everybody take that too, okay? Just in case.
Right.
You can't do it. It doesn't work. It doesn't work when you put anything else into that. I had a thought and I lost it, and it was a thought about probably more generalized with just, again, tying it back to our second video we did, which was about distraction. These things become so big and so saturated that we're distracted from other things that are going on in the world, but more importantly in our own lives. You know, how are our families? How are our kids? How is our neighborhood? How's my dog?
Are we even relating to our families anymore? Are we even relating?
That's part of the plan, though. The more separated we can be.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
And I remember what my thought was.
Okay, go for it.
What do you know to be true? And if one of those things that you know to be true has to do with anything that's going on regarding the P word, ask yourself, how do I know that? Where did I hear it? Or who told me? Or who says so?
Good advice.
And then just reinforce yourself. If you're sure about that, reinforce yourself. Check and look at different sites or voices or experts, etc. Do your due diligence on that. It'll feel good because we're better than that. We're smart.
And I'm going to say this. I had an oncologist of mine once say something to me. She said, Diane, there are no stupid questions. Do you realize? Oh my
God.
Do you realize?
You just read my mind. Okay. I thought of that in the car.
See? Now, my oncologist, who's now retired, said that to me. Do you realize in the last year and a half of our lives that it has become negative and unfavorable to question? Oh my God.
Exactly.
Oh my God. What has happened to people? What is going on here? When an oncologist says to me, there is no stupid question, she's empowering me to make my own decisions on my own health care for the cancer I was dealing with at the time. It truly is my body, my choice under all circumstances. And again, unless you've gone through something major in your life health-wise, you're fooling yourself if you think for a second that you're not allowed to question. Yes, you are allowed to question. You know where you're not allowed to question? In communist countries, in China. You do not get to question how many children you have. Okay? So start to think about this. And yes, I'm very impassioned right now, and I borderline on being angry. But I should be angry because what's happening in this country...
Righteous indignation, there's nothing wrong with it, girlfriend.
What's happening in this country is hitting us at the foundation of why we exist. Since when is questioning become unpopular in this country as it pertains to your health? Who made, by the way...
It pertains to anything. I remember being a kid in school, and every teacher would say, don't be afraid to ask questions. There's no such thing as a dumb question.
Well,
really?
We're far away from that now. We're
Oh,
far
my
away
God.
from that now. How dare you question is what's going on right now. How dare you not listen to what I say to you as an authoritarian figure. Authoritarian, okay? There's a
But
difference.
Diane, if I ask questions, someone might judge me,
well,
which leads to our
which leads to
process of-
blame
well,
and
judgment.
shame. Right.
And judgment is one of the
judgment.
things we talked about.
Yes, it is.
Worried about someone that's going to judge you, worrying about an encounter with somebody that's going to whatever. I have to tell you, I haven't worn a mask anywhere. I've never, ever been questioned about it. I've always had the attitude of I'll respect people's space.
Right.
I smile. I talk to people. I don't walk in with the fear or the attitude of being judged or being angry and I'm going to prove this and whatever. I just walk in being me, man.
And by the way,
Maybe it's the shiner though. They might not want to say anything because we should have seen the
right
other
now
guy.
at least. But here's the other side of the coin. She's also not walking in making anyone feel bad about the fact they are wearing
No,
one.
you want to wear one? Wear a mask. Hey man,
And
good for you.
I'm
I
110%
don't care.
for wearing a mask. I'm 110% for taking a vaccine as long as you know why you're taking it and you feel comfortable with it. That is what you do when you make choices for your medical care.
And interestingly, a lot of people who have taken it do not believe that it should be mandated. They believe as
That's
well that
true.
it is a personal choice.
That's
It's
true.
a personal choice to be made. Nobody ever asked me if I got a flu shot or if I get my DPT to, I went and got 6 stitches and I didn't take a tetanus shot because I knew in my heart of hearts that was a brand new clean blade and it was a surgical cut that was better than probably most doctors would do. I didn't take it. It's my choice to do that.
But
They
where
offered, I said no. End of story.
right. And where are we headed now though, folks? And that's why asking yourself 5 questions
But
like
Diane, I'm
Nancy
so
said.
afraid.
Well, I'm so afraid because Diane, you could get me sick.
Well,
Okay,
you would have worn
Diane,
damn goggles on your face.
Diane, you could kill me. Do you realize what you're saying to somebody who does not share your belief in handling this pandemic with the protocols that you choose and they choose something different? Did you ever stop to think that a person not wearing a mask is just as interested and adamant about remaining healthy? Did you ever stop to think that that person not getting the vaccine might have a reason that's valid medically and they do not need to tell you? Because remember something, we have something called HIPAA. And right now what I'm hearing is talking out of both sides of our mouth here, saying in one respect an employer has the right to make sure you get vaccinated, but 2 seconds later the employer is saying they don't have the right to put it in your file that you did or didn't get vaccinated because
does anybody know
it's in
what
conflict
HIPAA
with HIPAA.
Well, does anybody know what HIPAA says? You know.
I know what
Do
HIPAA
you know what
says.
HIPAA
Do you
says?
know what HIPAA said? Exactly correct.
People are responding and reacting in a place of fear instead of just saying no.
Right.
No.
Right.
If you want to take on a full liability, Mr. Employer, I'll gladly go get that as long as I know that if anything like that adverse happens to me, you'll be responsible, you'll be on the hook, and it will involve money. And I'd also like to know that when I leave here, if one of my conditions of employment for working for you, if I ever leave from working for you, that you can take this out of me because you're the one that's requiring me to do this. Someplace else may not.
Since when do employers...
Is any of this logical?
Does it make any sense?
It blows me away.
And it can't be coming...
Did you see Kamala Harris's tweet? She says that they have to protect the vaccinated from the unvaccinated.
Oh, let's talk about that.
Can we just talk for a second?
Let's talk about that.
If you're vaccinated,
Mm-hmm.
it's like you got on your armor, you're all good.
Right.
You are protected. So why would you care at all? Okay, first of all, why would you care at all what anybody else is doing?
Right.
Because it
Because
shouldn't
it's none
matter.
of,
It
well,
has
it's
no
none of
impact
your
on you.
business.
Whatever
It's none of your
whatever
business.
they have, I mean, if you get it, you're guaranteed, right? They tell you if you're guaranteed, if you have that you're not going to end up, in a hospital dead, whatever. Okay? So therefore, why do you care? It shouldn't matter. And second of all, I had my thought and again I lost it. Damn it.
I'll pick up for you while I'm talking. She'll get the
I
thought
will.
back shortly.
Shoot.
But the other thing too...
Oh, I know what it
go
was.
ahead, go ahead.
Well,
No,
just,
no, go.
well,
Go,
just
go.
the hypocrisy. It's just the hypocrisy. Here's my deal, okay? I'm going to just say it stop lying
To yourself.
all the way along. One of the things we talked about was loss. Loss is a part of life.
Right.
Everyone's running around scared like Chicken Little. The sky is falling because they're going to die. Well, guess what? Yeah, that's true.
And you're probably
Hopefully not for many, many years after a full life with everything in it accomplished that you wanted to accomplish.
Right.
But if it happens tomorrow to me, I'm good with it.
No, it's facing your mortality is not an easy. It's not an easy thing, and just so you realize, we're not making light of that.
No.
But facing your mortality sometimes requires a person to really understand which approach is better to facing it. And this I can speak on from personal experience, having had cancer. The bottom line is this: the only way I chose to survive it was by not focusing on the worst case scenario. And you know what? I have been so much more mentally healthy because of that. I've made better choices on what I can do to remain healthy because of that. And none of this kind of thought pattern is being talked about right now. There has been no discussion on how people can choose to let go of their fear, live in trust your fellow man, and take whatever precautions you feel are necessary, because when you do that, you are acting from a place of care for another person. You're not acting selfish. And that's the other thing, this thing where people unvaccinated are selfish, that is the most ass-backwards statement I have ever heard in my life. What I'm hearing is because of a current administration trying to say all the politically correct words in reference to this, meaning that our patience is growing thin with the unvaccinated. Okay, well, guess what? One day it'll be our patience is growing thin with people that have diabetes. So therefore, when they show up to the ER because their sugar levels are off because of what they did or didn't eat, we're not going to give them care. Do you see a little bit of just an imbecilic message that's been sent out? Our patience is wearing thin. We are better than this. But the only way we're better than this is if we respect each other's rights as Americans to make our own best choices. Because when you take care of yourself first, you will take care of others around you, not out of force and intimidation.
Amen,
Amen,
sister. I'm just tired of the hypocrisy.
Yes.
I was doing a lot of thinking about, like, what's my hill to die on? You know, everybody's got their hill to die on. And mine is I cannot abide with liars. You want to have a better relationship with your family? Stop lying. Do you want to have a better relationship with your friends and a deeper level of sharing stuff? Stop lying. You know, I'm so tired of the people not valuing their truth.
Right.
People somehow feeling that who I truly am is not as good as who I can pretend to be.
Right.
And I'm here to tell you that's not true. You're amazing. We're better than that. We're interesting. We all have our challenges and our triumphs and our personality quirks and our
We're
whatever.
flawed. We're human beings. We're flawed. But
and it depends on how you even look at flawed. Maybe a flaw to you is great to me. Like, whatever.
Exactly right.
For
Exactly
you
right.
and me, we're all different. We're all different, and that's a beautiful thing. And yet, I think so much of the time, we get our ego connected
Okay,
to
we're
our
right
outcome.
into ego and outcome, and you bring up a good point. We are individuals. That's the beauty of being human. Right now, what we're being sold is a bill of goods that we all have to think and act like robots. And for me, wearing a mask perpetuates that, because when I go like this, there's no emotion when you see me right now. Nothing. You feel nothing towards me, for me. But when I go like this and I smile at you and I say I love you, or you're better than all this, this warmth
but that's all part
can
of it.
be transmitted.
It's the dehumanization.
Yes.
And the interesting thing is, and I don't know if anybody else has found this, when I was working and had to wear a mask, and people that were coming through my line had to wear a mask, they would talk to me, and half the time I couldn't fucking hear them. Not because they weren't saying words loud enough, but you don't realize when you're interacting with somebody how often you're looking at their mouth and their lips and watching it move.
Exactly.
Right?
Oh no, that's very true.
So I'd sit there and go, I'm sorry,
true.
I can't hear you with this mask on. And when they would drop the mask and say whatever they said, I'm like, oh, okay, sorry. Yes, I can answer your question now. How weird is that? And I know my 90-year-old mother has felt that a lot. She has really been isolated. She wears hearing aids. But with the whole mask thing, anywhere that I am with her, I'm the interpreter for her. So talk about, you know, what kind of a value do we put on our elderly? What kind of value are we putting on our children?
Oh, wait a minute. I got to jump in.
Do.
As you were talking, it reminded me of something. When have any of you that are old enough, okay, and I'm going to say over 40, 50, when have any of you ever,
Sorry, I'm out of this one. I'm just
heard
kidding.
a U.S. president say that we are now going to go through the dark winter of death?
Oh, well,
More and more people are going to die, 200,000 more. And I'm just going to ask you to keep this thought in mind. Do we have any substantial proof of 200,000 more? Where is it? Where is it?
How many people are in the United States? Do you know?
Over 330 million people, I believe.
You know that. Do you know that?
So,
Probably oughta.
So, I'm jumping in because I'm sitting listening to Nancy. There's so many things going through my head. I just want to bring you back to this whole thing about having hope and taking a different tact on how to deal with fear. When the leaders of our country are perpetuating fear of death, no wonder the only focus you have 24/7 is, I've got to get Nancy over here to do what I want her to do so I feel better. And in the end, I ask you this, do you really feel better? If that was the case, then why are vaccinated people right now feeling good about being vaccinated? Who told you the vaccines aren't working? Who told you that people don't take vaccines
Well,
are a threat to you?
Because you got to get in line for your booster. Enjoy that. Enjoy that booster thing.
Okay, so back to your saying about ego and outcome, though.
Well, and I just think about this, okay? Here's your visual. The mindset is, in the general population, what I'm going to say to Diane right now. Diane, had you had face protection, this would not have happened to my eye. Think about that.
Right, and
Think about that. Does that make? Is there where?
You'd say that's idiotic.
Is there logical sense to that? Because right. if you substitute the words safety goggles and I'm just saying we're better than that, people. Yeah. We're smarter than that, and that's their biggest fear.
Yes.
Their biggest fear is that we figure out how amazing,
yes.
how smart.
Yes.
The fact that we have
Amen.
everything within us that we need, that we are blessed with a God-given amazing intellect and an intuition and an immunity system, and we're amazing creatures, and yet somehow we've bought in over all kinds of time with all kinds of messages since the beginning that we're somehow not. That we
right.
need experts to tell us what to do. That we need other people's opinions of us to make us feel better about ourselves. Because we can't do that ourselves. Because somehow, intrinsically, we don't feel we have value and worth. We don't think our no means something. We don't think it's valuable, and it is.
But when you do have value and worth, you won't put up with this. Because I have value and worth. And I say that humbly, not arrogantly. And what I say is I do have value and worth, which makes me realize I do not need an authoritarian figure in government or any other category forcing and punishing me over the fact that I won't do what they say is best for me. I am the best resource for myself. And that doesn't mean that when I make decisions, I don't make mistakes. But I'll tell you this, I'll own up to my mistake, and I'm going to ask you something. Will you own up to yours? I'll own up. If I have to own up publicly, I would own up. Because I'm secure in knowing that I am human. I do make errors, and I hope I'm not condemned, because I don't condemn people when they make mistakes. My usual approach is, when somebody is humbled enough to say I made a mistake, is to say I understand. Because I do understand. And we are so far away from that right now. The biggest message that's been sent out since last year is hatred, blame, and shame. And it's been reinforced over and over and over. You know, Nancy and I are sitting here talking like this very passionately. It's candid conversation. We are not medical professionals by any means. But we are human.
I play one on TV.
And you play one on TV.
I don't.
And we do have the right to speak and voice our opinions, as you do as well.
First Amendment, baby.
And we support that. But
do yourself a favor.
Take it away, Nance.
As part of your process in all of this, actually go and listen and watch speeches that are given. Read the transcripts. They're all out there. Read the actual words that are being said. Instead of getting like little sound bites and things that get picked apart and put back together in other ways and everything, because there's so much skill out there to do that kind of stuff.
Technology can make you think.
You don't know what's real anymore and what's not, and that's why it's so important that we depend on like our gut. We depend on our intuition to just start to say, something smells a little fishy here. Oh, there goes an ambulance. I'm okay. Thank you. My eye's fine. There's a tree. That's why it's more important than ever that like we are tuned into ourselves to be able to know in our gut like what's right, what doesn't feel too right, what makes sense and what really logically doesn't make sense. When we are more self-sufficient,
self-aware,
then we have less fear of going against like the echo chamber we're in. But as long as we stay dependent of I'm nothing unless everybody validates me, if I step out of line 1 inch, I'm going to get just crucified. So therefore, I'm not going to, and I'm going to just never look beyond, think for myself, ask a question, because God forbid, if I ask a question, I might get canceled. I might, get ostracized.
Censored.
And it's just that sad. Because when I grew up, I remember distinctly always being told every class, there's no such thing as a dumb question. Go ahead and ask. If you don't understand something, ask. We all get it at different rates. We all get it, through different means. There's nothing wrong with asking. But somehow today it seems like there is. So do yourself a favor, get it from the source. Watch the press conference, watch the speech, watch the whatever with your own eyes, in your own ears, on your own phone, or in your own house, on your TV, whatever it is, for yourself. That's just part of being a responsible adult American, I think. You may hear some things you like, you may hear some things you don't like, you may hear some things that make you go, well, what did he mean by that? Or what does that mean? That's all. Form your own opinion, you know what I mean? Like, exactly. We're better than that. Each one of us is fearfully and wonderfully made and unbelievably intelligent.
As individuals.
Yeah.
As individuals.
But yet we kind of forgot that we're in this like hive mind thing. It's
and this greater good, let me take that one.
Nah.
And this greater good that I had a Catholic priest say to me that the needs of one are no longer important enough. Although I find it interesting when the needs are one politically need to be shown that they are, but I'll skip that. So the greater good, so it's all about the greater good. So I, Diane Iser, care about the greater good. And the way I care about the greater good is I choose to be the best person I can be by living my own personal truth, being nonviolent, being kind whenever I can, and basically wanting to leave the world a better place. That's a little bit of why I believe the greater good works for me. Now, that isn't the message I've been receiving for the last year and a half. The message I've been receiving for the last year and a half has everything to do with me being told you will act this way, you will behave in a manner that guarantees everyone around me that they can trust me that I care about the greater good. Here's the deal. When you do something for the greater good, I don't know about you, Nancy, but this is the way I was brought up. When you do something for the greater good of one person or many, you don't draw attention to yourself. You do it humbly, you do it behind closed doors, and that isn't what this greater good is.
Because it's right.
Because it's right, thank you, because it's right. This greater good right going on right now is all about showing and guaranteeing people that you're on the same page as they are, and they can trust you because you are conforming to what they think and feel. That is twisted. That has nothing to do with greater good. That has everything to do with getting people to all think in one manner, all behave in one manner. And guess what happens when that happens? We lose our individuality, we lose our connection to humanity, and we become nothing more than robots. That's it in a nutshell. And then we don't do things anymore that are for the greater good. We don't do things that are unselfish. As a matter of fact, we start doing things that are selfish because someone convinced us that there's only one way to appeal to the greater good. So think about that. Think about that kind of question.
Well, that goes into the video we did about what's in your wake. What do
There
you
you go.
leave in your wake? What do you know, at the end of it all, because you're all going to have an end. We all are. Just the way life
Right.
is. How do you want to be remembered, I guess, is a
Right.
lot of it.
Right.
You know. But this is all about power and control.
Yes.
That's what it is.
Yes, it is.
5,000 mile view, if it wasn't COVID, which is horrible,
yes.
it would be something else.
It's horrible.
It would be
Absolutely.
something else. It would be, terrorism. It would be, 9/11. It would be whatever it is. There will always be things that happen in this world.
That are not
Rain
nice.
falls on the
Right.
just and the unjust, etc. There's collateral damage, which is, don't get me started on that.
Don't go there.
But bottom line, we have the ability to have a firm foundation that doesn't get rocked, even in the midst of it looking like the world's going to hell in a handbasket. And as I've always told anyone who will listen loudly, if you believe the world is just a big pile of shit on fire, you are going to see a lot of poop fires.
A lot of shit on fire.
You're
Right.
going to see a lot of roasted marshmallows around big
Right.
piles of flaming poop.
Right.
If you believe that the world is full of giving, wonderful people and beauty, that's what you'll see. You get to create that. You get to choose the kind of lenses you put in your life goggles that you look
Right.
through.
And I agree with that. And I still believe, even though this has been a challenge for all of us on how to deal with this, I still believe in the inherent good of people that choose it. But I'll say this about wake. What are you leaving in the wake of a child right now? Are you empowering that child to understand what appropriate fear is? Are you empowering that child to know that they have some say over what they're afraid of?
Are you fighting for your kid to go to school without having to breathe their own exhaust for 8 hours?
Right. Which
I don't get it.
which again, we're not medical professionals. I'm using common sense here because I am a patient advocate and I understand how protocols should be used properly. When you have a child that has a mask on continually, are you helping their immune system to grow? Because part of immune system function is exposure to the elements. I ask you, what are you doing to help a child behind you know how to deal with the adversity that life's going to throw at them? Because one day I know I'm going to be gone, so is Nancy. And right now, we are basically disabling younger generations from being able to be self-sustaining. This is about government control and power. This is about dominance. This has nothing to do with letting your children and grandchildren grow up freely, roam where they need to roam, make their mistakes, fall down, dust themselves off, pick themselves up, and get on with life. So what's in your wake? What are you contributing to that child that you have? What are you doing to empower them to become productive individuals that think for themselves, that are kind, that work hard, and don't stand with your hand out because an authoritarian government official said, I care. Did you ever stop to think people lie? Again,
Stop lying.
stop the lying. Stop the lying to yourself.
And this segues into, we did a video on surviving in the place of suck.
Yes.
Where do you go? How do you get through those days where you just can't do it? Everybody has a bad day. It's part of being human. There are some days when you feel like really great, and there are some days when a tree hits you in your face. How do you survive in that? Now I'm going to say something.
Wear your safety goggles.
Oh, well, if you would have worn them, I wouldn't have this.
I know.
Come on, Diane.
2 days of flat.
2 weeks ago to flatten the curve 2 years ago.
Okay.
I've been doing a lot of work around, first of all, I think that the powers that be thrive on us being divided and angry and fearful.
Absolutely
Because
correct.
then you can control people.
Yes, you can.
Okay?
With chaos.
So what is our way to survive that? Because that's a place of suck.
Yes, that is.
The way to survive that is to starve them of that. Be fearless. Don't be divided.
Be an individual.
Right? Loving other people.
Right.
And I'll be real honest. get pretty pissed off about this. I get pretty
me
disgusted
too.
with some things.
Me too.
But what I have been focusing on much more lately is empathy. And I choose to believe that most people, in doing what they feel is right, whether it's doing something or not doing something, it's coming from a place of wanting safety and what's best, as we've been led to believe, for the people around us, right?
Right.
So maybe someone says, I have elderly people in my life, and because I love them and care for them, this is what I feel will keep them safe. And that's my way of showing them love. I can empathize with that. I have people in my life I love too.
Right.
So if we can adapt that mindset of truly loving each other despite our differences, empathizing with each other, and I like to make the assumption, which makes an ass out of you and me sometimes, but I
Right.
still like to make the assumption that people are coming from a good place. People are coming from a place of doing the best they can with what they know. And that's why it's so vitally important that you know why you know something.
Exactly correct.
If we're all doing the
Good
very
advice.
best we can with what we know, then it is a responsibility of us to understand why
What
we
we
know
know.
it and what we know, right?
Yeah.
And to be able to live with no regrets, if you will. You know, to reach the end of our day, right? Because I heard somebody say, you know, it's not the beginning date and the end date on the gravestone, it's the dash in between and what you've done with it.
Right.
At the end of all of our days, which we all will come to, hopefully much, much farther down the road, when we are like at that point going, why am I still here?
Right.
Which is what I hear sometimes from the people that are older in my life. And I believe they're here because we're still learning from them. They still
right.
have much to offer
That's
us
right.
as well. Even though they may feel like they don't have a purpose, they do. The purpose they have
You're
is to
still
teach
learning.
us. You know, when you get to that end date, how do you want to be remembered? Right?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to be one of those people who is reaching that point saying, gosh, I really wish I would have done this, or I wish I wouldn't have done that.
No regrets.
I
Live your
want
life
to
with
live
no
my life
regrets.
with no regrets.
No regrets.
And it's easier for us. Like, this is such a time of amazing growth for all of humanity.
If you choose it though.
Well,
It's
even
a-
if you don't choose it, there's something to be learned in that too.
But it takes self-awareness, Nancy, because if you've
Right.
got somebody as an ostrich with their head in the sand,
You're so
they,
nice.
They are.
I would have set up their ass.
They are not learning. They're not growing, Nancy. You know that. They're not. It's not until they become self-aware that their head's in the sand that the growth takes place. You don't have self-awareness, you don't have growth.
That is true.
You don't.
That is true. And there's also that thought process of, you know, until you stop banging your head against the wall, that's when you realize, ow, that hurt
That's
doing
annoying.
that. Like, now I have a headache, right?
Right. That's an old
This
thing.
process, it's not easy.
No, it's not.
It's not easy when you look around and have to accept, you know, a truth, or, you know, see things in a different way than you did, or maybe think, wow, I know this, well, but I'm not really sure why I know this. And when you find out where you got the information from, you go, well, wait a minute, I'm not sure that I agree with all of that.
Right.
Which creates that kind of like, well, now I don't know, right? Waking up is hard to do, you know, coming to terms and growing and all of that.
Nancy, being curious. Haven't we taught kids?
But
up
it's
until-
hard in an exciting, good way.
Haven't we taught generations of children? We were taught this. That curiosity was a good thing. If we were curious
Right.
and we went to school,
How do you think
and
they discover things?
And we questioned something because you were curious, that was actually rewarded.
Right.
You were considered intelligent. Look what we're doing today to children. We're not allowing them to be curious. We're telling them, oh, no. You need to be filled with fear. We need to address the fact that you no longer have the right to be curious because fear is more important than being curious. What are we doing to these babies?
Well, and Diane, think about it. There used to be, when you played soccer, let's use it as an example.
Softball for me.
Somebody won, a team won, and a team lost.
Absolutely correct.
The team that won got a trophy. The team that lost
got nothing.
Didn't get anything. Maybe they got to go out for ice cream after with their coach.
Right.
Okay, but they learned from it. And maybe the next time they played, next time maybe they won, right? That's just the way life is. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. What we have created in this society, and I don't know exactly where all it came other than I'm seeing now kind of the fruits of the control factor of it all. I was always very perplexed by this. Everyone gets a trophy just for showing up, and we can't mark papers with red pens because people's feelings will get hurt. We've made failure a 4-letter word. Fail is a 4-letter word,
right?
But we've made failure, right? And when I think about that, a lot of times I figured out what I should do, or like what I wanted to do, what worked, by doing something that didn't work.
Failure is opportunity,
and we've taken that away.
Now
we just tell people, oh, you can't do that, it's not going to work. Well, how do you know? Maybe I'm going to do it differently.
What is wrong with losing? I have the same problem.
Well, right.
Having played softball.
But if your ego and outcome are connected, it's a big deal to lose.
What is wrong with learning how to graciously accept a loss so you can grow from that loss? And quite possibly, Michael Jordan's a prime example. Michael Jordan didn't turn into Michael Jordan overnight. And again, fact check me. The bottom line is Michael Jordan had a lot of failures before he became who he became.
Well, how many times did Thomas Edison have to try to make a light bulb before one actually worked?
And that I don't know.
If after the first one he went, well, I'm done with that. We're sitting here in the dark.
But we're taking this away from our children right now.
Well, and there's a resiliency. They all have to be alike. There's a resiliency that comes from feeling bad. Sometimes shit happens and you feel bad. It's just like, man, that sucks. I got broken up with, or I was skiing and broke my leg, or got a tree in the eye.
But
whatever,
that leads to emotional intelligence. That leads to learning how to deal with emotion, and emotion is not an easy thing to deal with for most people.
Being tough and resilient. It's being able to get back up. It's not about how many times you fall down. It's the fact you get up one more time than the number of times you fell down. It's just the way that it is. And, we've rewarded...
Look
I don't know. It's like
look what we're doing to our nurses right now. I'm gonna start that one. Look what we're doing to our nurses. They were the heroes last year, and right now these people who served on the front lines, who have the right, and I pay attention to this because of being a patient advocate. When an RN chooses to do something outside what's being pushed, I question that. Now these poor people are losing their jobs. They're being forced out. They're not being even given the opportunity to be fired. When they say, I don't want to quit, they say, I want my termination paper, and they're not being given that. This is the way we treat these individuals who last year had no opportunity to have a vaccine, yet they were on the front lines. Now they went from being the heroes to the villains. Why? Because
Well, I want to know why the vaccine went from being something that you never should trust and never take it before.
You're right.
And now all of a sudden everyone should have it. And the same people are saying that. Again, stop lying.
That's right. There's a lot of lying going on.
The hypocrisy. Which one is it?
There's a lot of lying going on. So yes, you're right about everything you're discussing.
And what's really going on?
What's really going on here? There's a lot of ugliness going on that a lot of people want to
There's a lot of lying.
Where they want to turn away from. They want to close their eyes. They want to shut their ears. They don't want to believe it. And all I can tell you is, if Nancy and I are wrong, I'm telling you something. It doesn't even matter if I'm right. It doesn't. What matters to me is I want my children and my grandchildren and Nancy's grandchildren and her children to have the same opportunities and freedoms that we had when we were growing up.
Bottom line, just leave everybody the fuck alone.
There you go. Thank you.
Mind your own business. If you need to do something, you go and do that.
Exactly,
okay?
but mind your own business.
God bless you.
What happened to mind your own business? That is something.
You can't say that anymore.
That is something that was inherently part of being an American, which was people knew where that line was. People knew they didn't have the right to ask someone about their general health. Now people feel that they have the right to basically make the determination on what they think your health is.
Your business is my business. Because if she was wearing safety goggles, that wouldn't have happened.
That's exactly
Just
right.
saying.
But
even if I was out chopping the tree down, it wouldn't have happened. I want to tell you something that I heard that is like
Before I segue.
is so okay. I was listening to his name is Dr. Polk.
Mm-hmm.
He's out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and I was listening to him in a radio interview.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a daughter who is 6 months pregnant, and she wanted a deferment for her job to not get vaccinated while she's 6 months pregnant. Just put it off until, after I'm not pregnant anymore, because I just don't want to. People are very careful about what you have in your body, like when you're carrying a child.
Absolutely.
And she did not feel comfortable having the vaccination at 6 months of pregnancy. All she needed to do was to present to her employer a letter from a doctor, a note from a doctor that confirmed her pregnancy. She went to her GP. He would not confirm it. So she went to her OBGYN. Her OBGYN would not confirm that she was 6 months pregnant.
Why am I asking why, and why aren't you asking why?
Maybe you are asking why. I find
I
that
hope you're
really
asking why.
a little. That just doesn't make it like. That's disturbing to me.
It's very disturbing.
She's 6 months pregnant. I'm sure she's showing, but we're not going to confirm your pregnancy. We're not going to give you this note to give to your employer to just defer.
Right.
Defer. She wasn't saying I'm not taking it. She just simply said not now while I'm 6 months pregnant. That's
right.
So weird. It doesn't make a lot of sense, does it, Diane?
There's a lot that doesn't make a lot of sense. And segueing right into my little segment.
See
here,
how that works?
We're so good at this. What also doesn't make a lot of sense
humble. We're so
right now.
humble.
Oh yeah, right. I can only imagine what we're being called right now.
I don't care.
And I don't care either. But something else that doesn't make a lot of sense.
I'm just mad you didn't wear the glasses because now I got a black eye.
Next time, you wear them for me when I'm out in the yard.
I will.
But I wear my own, just so you know. I wear my own safety goggles. I don't look at anyone else to wear mine.
I should have worn my own.
So, the other thing that's going on, that we're going to do a show, the next upcoming show as a seniors advocate, I get to talk about what I love so much, and that's my passion for older adults. What everyone has left out from the beginning of this has been what has happened to the silent generation. I have not forgotten what's happened to them, but I'm appalled by what I've seen happen to them. So our next show, many people I asked Nancy to go out onto other social media platforms and find out what people are talking about when it comes to caregiving for older loved ones. What are they looking for? I have a good idea, trust me, being a seniors advocate, but we wanted to develop a show. And she had responses like that. People were responding and saying, I have this going on with my father, I have this going on with my mother, I don't know what path to take here. So we came up with four.
Which, thank you, by the way, for being honest and open about your challenges.
And those challenges, I can tell you professionally, are going to get unbelievably more difficult because of what's taken place with the pandemic. So I've come up with 4 areas that Nancy and I are going to discuss for the next show. We're going to talk about finances and money, costs related to senior living. What do I do? What do I do as an older adult, or what does my parent do as an older adult if I outlive my money? And I think that's a really, really hot topic. The second area we're going to talk about is safety in growing older. The challenges related to when you should step in with your parent. When is it that you should all of a sudden, and this is tough for me as a professional, I am opposed to adult children stepping into their parents' business when their parents are cognitively well. Now, if you have a parent who suffers from dementia, who has other illness that compromises their ability to take care of themselves, that's a whole different ballgame. But I have a much different mindset than most of my colleagues. I believe in honoring the fact that your parent is your parent and very capable, as long as you're 100% cognitively there, of making your choices. And a lot of times those choices our parents make definitely bring up fear within us about outcome. So we'll talk about that. The third thing is going to be advocacy. How to be the best advocate for yourself as an older adult and for your parents, if need be. Finally, really important topic, respite. Respite care as a caregiver. I've seen this happen so many times in caregiving settings. Men handle caregiving from a managerial standpoint. They throw money at it, hire a caregiver, put mom in a senior living facility. Women are hands-on caregivers. They are the ones that are changing their life. They're raising a family, and they're spending half their time raising their family, and the other half of their time they're over at their mom's house, much like Nancy does, helping out as best she can. So those are the 4 areas that we're going to talk about with the next show, but I also want to say that we have forgotten about the silent generation since this pandemic started. I am not a proponent for what I have seen in senior care facilities right now. We have, in an effort to protect older adults, we have done unbearable things to them.
We've locked them up like prisoners.
We've locked them up like prisoners.
And they haven't done well with that.
I've been appalled, and I know I'm not going to win any brownie points with my colleagues, and I'm not trying to win brownie points. What I'm trying to do is say, we need to start thinking outside the box on this, everyone in my field, and putting a petition up in front of your loved one and then saying, look at what we've done, is like looking at a monkey in a zoo. So your mom's behind that partition, she needs your hug, okay?
Yeah, it's really
she needs
sad.
your hug, and she needs to be going out getting some sun last year when so many did not, that I know professionally, firsthand experience, were kept locked down in their room.
But everybody was so afraid that we just thought that was whatever.
We have
We're
done
all just doing the best we could.
We have done to them what we wouldn't do to the animals that we see advertised on TV and commercials about the inhumane treatment. And I will leave on this note, we will leave on this note. There's one more question you can ask yourself. Nancy gave you 5, I'm giving you number 6. Watch what's happening right now with older adults and ask yourself this question. Do you really want to go into any senior living community from this day moving forward? Is that where you're going to get your best care? And if it's not where you're going to get your best care, where do you think you are? Do some homework, folks, because these are big issues. And if we are fortunate enough to live into older age, the face of aging just changed with the pandemic this last year and a half, and not for the better.
Well, and the interesting thing about all that is all of that directly goes right back to all the things we've talked about on this channel.
Right.
You, as being as self-aware and as healthy and strong an individual you can personally be, that's what you bring to whatever situation you're dealing with your seniors.
Right.
You know, if you're wherever you go, there you are.
Absolutely.
And all of the things we talk about can play into the decisions that are made there, can play into the relationships that you create there, and how you approach and attack the whole issue of being the best caregiver for your parent that you possibly can. I do know one other thing that we forgot.
What did we forget?
We never introduced ourselves.
God, if you don't know who we are by now.
Well, I gotta plug my book. For
Oh,
crying
plug
out
the
loud.
book, but
I
plug
wrote
the
this.
book.
Lessons
Yes.
from the Ledge, a little book about big stuff. I'm Nancy Jo Nelson. I'm a speaker, a coach, an author, award-winning author.
Yes.
Also, I sing, and
Indeed.
my ebook is in the process. Excuse me, is in the process. So this will be uploaded in e-format if you don't want to get a paperback book and you want to just read it on your phone or your device. That's happening. I'm also doing an audible book, because who better to tell my story than me, motherfucker?
And on that note, what we want you to do is remember this. We are having candid conversation. We're just 2 real gals. We bring to the table good common sense.
Did you assume my gender, Diane?
Oh, stop.
Oh, my God.
We bring good common sense when we can to the discussions. We care about humanity. We care about ourselves. And we just want you to remember to tap
Into
your
bad
bad ass.
ass.
Bye, guys.
Bye.